Hey everyone, welcome to Make Your Peace, a 4YE podcast about Wynonna Earp. I'm Catherine Meushaw.
And I'm Lara Hayes.
And today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 6, Constant Cravings. And this will be a spoiler-free and a spoiler-filled discussion of the episode. So if you're new to Wynonna Earp and don't want to be spoiled, don't worry. We'll have a warning before the spoiler section. So we're spoiler-free first, and then we'll go spoiler-filled afterwards. And so I appreciate you sticking with us after our 2-week break with, con stuff and vacation stuff. So we do also, in our spoiler section, we'll be talking about some of the news we heard at Clexicon a couple weeks ago. So with that, thank you to everybody I met at the con. Shout out to all those people who, all the Earpers and everything that I met at Clexicon. That was a lot of fun. And thank you for listening. And I think that's... So, Lara, do you have a quick recap? Because I still don't have one.
I do. Dahl's secret comes out when he joins Wynonna to find the mysterious blacksmith and encounters a secluded family with a voracious appetite.
That's an interesting recap, considering Dahl's secret doesn't actually come out. It just looks shady.
True. It's more like just more of the secret gets revealed. You don't actually get an answer. Yeah.
Alrighty. So, tell me about that title.
I will tell you about that title. Thank you, Catherine. I love a play on words, and seeing as how, we're dealing with a family of cannibals, it's disturbingly fitting. But all interpretation aside, constant craving is a gift from lesbian Jesus herself, Katie Lang. So let's all celebrate and rejoice by listening to that track for the 1 millionth time.
Yay! And just to help make up for all the stuff that I don't know, I actually did know that. So I don't lose points for not knowing that.
You get 10 points for knowing that.
Yay! It kind of makes up for all of the other pop culture things and music-related things I don't know, so.
You're doing great. We're off to a great start.
Yes! Always enjoy that. So thank you for that title tidbit. And this episode is kind of one that I consistently forget about until I end up on it on a rewatch. So I honestly don't have a lot of stuff to talk about, I think. Maybe I always say that and then I end up, talking forever, so we'll see. No, it's just, there are a lot of season 1 episodes that I like more than I like this one. Mm-hmm. Or I think it's sandwiched between a couple of really good episodes.
Right.
So I think that's probably where it ends up. I don't know. But I do kind of like the revenants in this. I think the cannibalism thing is kind of fun in a really twisted way. Just because, it's interesting that Hetty and two of them weren't turned into these crazy, hunger-driven cannibals, but Mama Olive was. So I don't know. I just think it's kind of it's a fun-ish revenant.
I have a note on mine that's just can someone please make a whole show about a female serial killing cannibal revenant? Can that be a thing that I request? I would watch every episode. I would live tweet every second.
Oh my God, Hannibal, but with ladies.
And demons.
Yes, I would watch that. Where's our spinoff? Oh,
yeah, give me Mama Olive the early years.
Yeah, can we just have a spinoff of the series that's from the Revenant's point of view, from when they were why they were turned Revenant, and then that goes into how they got more demony as they get killed off by the heirs. I think we're on to something.
I would be, I'm actually just leaning in, the more you talk, closer to my microphone. I'm so on board with that. I would love it.
Oh, that would be so great. That would be such a wonderful backstory goldmine, because you can't always put that stuff in the show itself. It's hard to do a hardcore amount of backstory for stuff. Sure.
Well, you've got these main characters that you have to give all this backstory, on. You can't really spend the time doing that for a Revenant of the Week. Yeah.
But I think we're on to something. I think we've got a new show idea here. Just contact Emily and Sci-Fi. Nobody steal our idea. Our idea that's very public now.
Yeah. Let's get a Kickstarter going.
GoFundMe. Crowdfund this. Come on, Earpers can do it, right?
Oh yeah, they can do anything.
Yeah, so let us know if you're on board with our new show, guys.
We did get a severed scalp and possibly a whole severed head before the credits. And that's to say nothing at all of the horror show that is Taten Hill Farm. So I was in heaven.
Yeah, I did actually. I had my note here. Someone lost a scalp or something, so that counts in the body part count. So I was excited on your behalf, Laura.
So cool. So it wasn't just me, though. Like, you couldn't tell if that was like a scalp or a whole head?
I think it was a scalp.
I think so, too.
I'm pretty sure it was a scalp.
Yeah, I feel like it was.
But, my first thought was scalp.
All right, we're sticking with scalp.
Yeah, if it was a whole beheading, I feel like, see, it's the way, like, it flung into the ground and stuff like that. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry in advance for the turn this took. But I don't know.
You mean to tell me that people aren't tuning in to listen to us talk in depth about the trajectory and impact of a severed scalp? Like,
and how that would, like, get
flop
flown
it
versus a head?
Yeah.
No, I think it was a scalp. I'm pretty sure it was a scalp.
I think so too. You've raised an important point. There was a slap impact. Like,
I'm so sorry, guys. As you can tell by my laughing, I'm totally not. This is what happens when we take 2 weeks off, and then spend like 30 minutes before recording, just chatting.
Yeah. We had a lot to catch up on. We missed each other.
We did. And I had Klexicon to flail about.
Yeah, we had to spend some time there.
All that goodness. So, okay, yeah, we got your body part. So I think we've only had one episode so far where we didn't get that.
Yeah, so far we've had one.
Cool. You're on track still.
Woo!
It's the little things. So this episode we get to meet the blacksmith. We get a new character.
We do.
And I like the blacksmith. I really like her introduction, too.
I do, too.
You gotta appreciate somebody who just puts landmines out.
I love a scare tactic. And we don't know much about her yet. We know she's a badass, like you pointed out. Mm-hmm. We know she's observant, and we know that I'm in love with her.
Yes. She's pretty cool. I mean, she's magic or something in some way, shape, or form. I mean, she's pretty cool. And like I said, she just likes to mess with people who come into her, onto her property. And it's like, I just like how she's like, great Gaia, it's not active. Like, who do you think I am? It's like, well, you did put a landmine here, so.
Yeah, I really like that too.
Yeah, I mean, I like the blacksmith. She seems cool. She, officiates the wedding of Waverly and the Skull, so.
I think that was definitely one of my favorite quotes from the episode was, wait, did I just marry a skull?
It's so great. Yeah, that the shady skull business. Find out that the skull belongs to the skeletons that Bobo's been digging up. Mm-hmm. So it's not great. Not great at all. And something else very important happened in this episode.
What?
Waverly finally ditched Champ.
She did.
So great.
I
love it so much.
I thought they did a really good job, especially, I think they've done a superb job so far, but seeing as how this was like sort of the last straw and everything, they really drove home like how useless he is, which you've commented on more than once. Yeah, I mean, we finally reached the end of this episode, not a moment too soon, in my opinion. But I do appreciate that they showed you, like, how wrong they are for each other by allowing you to follow Waverly as she faces up to this. I thought that was cool. Like, they're not intellectually matched. They don't care about the same things. And most importantly, by the end of it, you see that Waverly has truly outgrown him. Yeah.
No, and it's good. I mean, the only redeemable or decent thing in this whole episode is his ferret impression. I gotta say, that's
yeah, that was kind of funny.
No, I mean, and it's really like, as somebody who has owned ferrets, it's like surprisingly on point as far as ferret noises go. They do like make little noises like that when they're just hopping around. It's hilarious. I have that thought every time I watch the episode. I'm like, it's a really good ferret noise.
I like the idea. Yeah, I like the idea of owning ferrets, but like, I think that they're too much for me. Too mischievous, probably smarter than I am. Like, I can't
Oh, they're fun though. We had one that like really liked plastic bags. Like she like just liked plastic. Like she would take like bags of chips, but not because she wanted the chips, just because the bag made a crinkly noise. Whereas the other one liked sweets, so it's like she didn't really care for the plastic, but she just liked anything like if you had something sweet or something like that. But yeah, the one that like plastic bags one time, like straight up jumped on a chair, hopped up on a chair, hopped up on the arm of the chair, and then jumped on me to get to like a piece of plastic I had. It was hilarious. They're fun creatures. I love them.
That's my point though. Like I feel like they're just like too smart and like too yeah. Like I would never be able to ferret proof a house. So I can't responsibly own one, I don't think.
Oh, that's the fun. You don't ferret proof it. You just find out what they get into. For example, like sometimes they just hop into a trash can and fall asleep. And then you just find the ferret in the trash can.
Oh.
Just chilling there, just asleep.
Hanging out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, they're adorable. But yeah, I get it. But they're very cute to watch hop around. That was the point of that. Apparently today is going to be tangents, as if that's something new.
Everybody loves scalps. Everybody loves ferrets. It's fine. Yeah.
Well, everybody should love ferrets. They're very cute, and they can be very sweet. Sometimes they're dicks, but they're very sweet.
Yeah. So are cats, Dicks, I mean.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get on board with that.
Yeah. I still love them.
Sure. I'll love those too.
Faker.
Okay, look, my brother's cat just bit me again last night and made me bleed again the second time in a week, so I'm not feeling very warm and fuzzy towards it right now.
I think there's something wrong with that cat.
There is. He's a jerk. We tangented again, and I'm going to delete that particular tangent.
Okay, all right.
Okay. So yeah, Waverly ditches Champ, and I like how they kind of really did this and showed up kind of how useless and how like just mismatched and
right.
And he just lays it down like so many times. It's how can someone be so pretty and so smart and like totally just very clearly sets up that he's very much only dating her because she's attractive, which we kind of already had an idea that he was trash. But
they really underscored it in this episode that, nothing about her mind is a turn on to him.
Yeah, and he just wants her to be a barmaid in Buenos Aires. Like, why? Of all the places.
She's got the crop tops,
She really does, and the abs, but there's more to life than being a barmaid for Miss Waverly Earp. So, not that there's anything wrong if you want to be a barmaid or anything. It's just not what Waverly wants. So you got to appreciate that. And I do kind of, in the Champ line of things, I do kind of like the Earp sisters diner scene where he comes up.
Oh, yeah.
I like how Wynonna is very like, you can do so much better. Like, she does not hide her disgust for Champ one bit.
No.
So I do enjoy it because it's, it's very older sister and it's very relatable. Like, who hasn't had that thought about somebody your sibling is dating?
It's true.
So
I feel like this episode, well, I mean, I feel maybe I say this every episode, but it's just a really great Wynonna episode. Like, she's got so many one-liners, and the entire diner scene, like with Waverly, you're right, is just amazing. Like, there's so much chemistry between, those two actresses, and we get like even the start of the episode. Like, it's funny that I wouldn't call this like one of my favorite episodes. I think maybe I forgot about it a little bit, but when I started watching it, I was like, gosh, this is, like there's some really good stuff here. Like the opening scene gives us one of my all-time favorite like Earper gifs, like Wynonna's woo. Yeah, when she best dolls in the sparring match, and there's just so many like little gems like that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's got like, I'll say this, Wynonna Earp has a good first season. So, like, a kind of middle-of-the-road episode, for me, for the first season, is still a good episode compared to some other shows.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's a good way to put it, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's still, like I said, it's sandwiched between two, like, really
huge
episodes that I like a lot. So, I kind of forget about this one until I'm watching it. But, yeah, that training scene with Wynonna and dolls in the beginning is so great. I love it.
It is.
I just love when, she keeps trying to get him, and he's just kind of like, nope, you're dead. Not that time. Got to be better. And then when she finally gets him down, I love the dance, and I love how excited she is because it's so relatable.
It is. I also really like her freak out over the bike that Curtis is leaving her.
I was just going to say that.
Yes, it's such a fangirl moment. It's like, that's me when season 3 premieres. Like, that's what I'm going to look like.
Yeah.
Not behave like.
You'll be in the comfort of your own home, and nobody will be there to judge you. So there's no judgment.
Yeah, I'm just going to lose it.
That's fine. I'm going to be hella excited too. It'll be great. I can't wait. You still don't know when that's happening.
I know.
Yeah, I love her reaction to the motorcycle. That was on my list too. It's so great. She does have a lot of like really great moments, like when Hetty takes the door with her. She's like,
yeah,
she took the door. Like, totally didn't realize that Hetty was strong enough to just rip the door off and just book it.
Right.
But of course, she's strong enough to do that, but then like kind of struggles getting away. So I like that. And I like that there's a callback later, like that Wynonna uses what Dolls teaches her to take Hetty down.
Yeah, I do too.
So I like that we get to see the callback. And she does get she gets a lot of good moments, like the jump down into the bunker thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, such a great moment to just it's such an awesome, like, action movie kind of thing for her to just kind of jump down and be like, what's up, bitches? And I love it. It's so good. So yeah, I didn't say I didn't like this episode. It's just, it does have a lot of good moments. So
yeah, it does.
Like, we get to see Waverly sing too.
We do get a little of that, don't we?
Yep. Dominique Crovachockley has some pipes there.
She does. Hopefully we get more of that in the future.
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully.
I can't imagine them taking that gift away from us. She's wildly talented.
She is.
It's got some good stuff. I don't know how I always forget that we get another one of the 7. We get the 6th of the 7. That's Hetty. And she thinks it's Herman, but it's Hetty. And it's an interesting interaction Hetty has with Wynonna.
Mm-hmm.
I like how she tries telling her in the beginning, that she just got caught in the crossfire and stuff like that. And then owns up to being part of the group that went after Ward because of her mom. Like, it was, her mom and really not wanting to murder people to feed her and stuff. Or just like, her mom goes on this, crazy hunger that she can't sate and stuff like that. And it's just, it's one of those, like, it's not a black and white thing. She's not like Killer Miller. She's not like Malcolm, where it's just like, they're just bad people. They were desperate. The Tates were desperate during a harsh winter, and they kind of Sweeney Todded it a little bit. I mean, they ended up paying for it, but yeah, it's just because and then she tells her, Mama gets hungry every time an Earp comes of age, and tells Wynonna the curse won't end until she ends it. So she's the second Revenant in a row to tell Wynonna basically that she's going to end the curse. So I do like that. So
I think it's really cool, like, how Hetty was used. Like, Hetty was used for villains the same way that Wynonna is used for heroes, right? Like, everybody sort of discounts Wynonna. Some of it because she's a troublemaker, and some of it absolutely because she's a woman.
Oh,
yeah. And so we see that same thing happening just on a different side of the moral scale, but we see that happening with Hetty. Like she's, like you don't believe that she's one of the 7 when you first meet her. You just write her off as just, some waitress who's friends with Waverly. And through the course of the episode, they just totally flip the assumptions they know you've made. And I always really appreciate it when a show can do that and sort of call me on my own. You know what I'm saying?
Like internalized misogyny.
Exactly.
I was trying to think of the word. Yeah, because it is. And even like, when Mama Olive is talking to Dolls, or Dolls and Wynonna, she mentions that like she had, they dressed Hetty up like her brother so that, and right down to the tattoo, because it was easier to travel the world as a man than it was for Hetty to be a woman. So yeah, and it does kind of, it calls you, you're right, it calls you out a little bit on your internalized misogyny.
It does.
So yeah, it's great. I mean, I like it. I like it when the show does stuff like that.
Me too.
Because it does, it's an important conversation, and it is an important idea here that, we got to acknowledge that, and like I said, it talks about, like, it even addresses, like, they weren't they were serial killers, but they weren't serial killers like assassins or something like that. They did what they had to do. They felt they had to do to survive.
Right.
So it's another kind of ambiguous thing that I kind of appreciate. I love a gray area. I say that all the time.
I do too. I do too.
But it makes for good characters and for good discussion, the gray area.
It does. And I was surprised, like, I don't know why, because it's not like you don't, like, keep track of all of this for us. You do. But Hetty being number 6, I was still like, whoa, like, it's just, yeah, it felt like, I was like, we're at 6 already? Like, and you do such a good job of, like, just keeping track of all of these things. I was still sort of surprised by it, though. I mean, as far as, like, a revenge checklist goes, like, Wynonna is blowing through this hit list so fast. Yeah, I mean, she makes Beatrix Kiddo look lazy, I mean, she's just, she's killing it, literally.
Yeah, I mean, she's got her to-do list, and she's gonna get it done. So, I mean, we don't necessarily have a solid timeline, but we know not a lot of time has passed. I mean, they're just now getting around to getting Curtis's stuff out. Like, dig it up. So not much time had to really pass. And it's like, we even, we get a reference to Doc and Wynonna would have, like, just hooked up. So yeah, it's
right. They're still in those, like, awkward, like, first meeting since. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We get that moment with them. So you're right. There couldn't have been much time.
Yeah. So it is, I mean, we don't have a lot of time in between these episodes. So it is kind of, she's getting it done. And I think that's part of why she keeps having revenants, our gray area revenants, who tell her, you're going to break this curse.
Yeah.
Because they know, I mean, she's on track to be, Edwin level with what she's doing.
Right.
And I keep meaning to, like, track all the revenants besides just the 7, and I keep forgetting to do that. I kept meaning to, like, write it down and keep track of it. That was going to be my plan for us recording, and that didn't work. So
it's an admirable plan. I could never.
It's just not something I think about when I'm taking my notes sometimes. So because, I mean, she knocked 3 out in this episode, so I could probably sit here and, like, figure it out, but I'm not going to subject anybody to that right now.
You know who couldn't do that? Me.
That's because you have a brain for useful things and not a brain for the most random TV-related things in existence.
You flatter me unnecessarily and unrealistically. Thank you.
Why, certainly.
Thank you, my friend.
You're very welcome. Alrighty, so let's see. And yeah, we got to talk about Dolls a little bit, because Dolls was kind of in a mood this episode.
Yes, to say the very least.
And I kind of like that, Doc was the one who kind of was like, there's some sort of withdrawal happening here, guy. And I do find it interesting that Wynonna wouldn't have, like, really honed in on something like that, unless she just wouldn't have assumed that of Dolls. Because, she's been around addicts and stuff before.
Yeah, I feel what you're saying, but I also think it's like, I also think that he was working a lot harder to hold it together around her. And I think that's why she was on the receiving end of so many of his blow-ups.
Yeah.
Because he was working so hard to keep that under control. And also, sometimes we convince ourselves that we know someone so well, and what am I trying to say? And we build these like blocks of their character that we believe are, like, immovable, these, like, cornerstones of who these people are. And so when we get something that contradicts something that we think we're so sure of, sometimes we can disregard that in favor of our own certainty and what we want to believe about people and what we hope for their sake is true of them.
Oh,
so I think it's
blind spots. It's a bunch of blind spots.
Exactly. Yeah. So. Yeah. And Doc is Doc is kind of immune to that because he's not close to dolls yet. So he's got a real, like outside observer's eye to this entire thing.
Well, and he's also, in some ways, Doc is a con man. He's a poker player. He's a card shark. He knows when people are lying. He knows when people are putting on a facade. He knows all this because he knows because he's experienced in it.
Yeah, he can read faces.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he just doesn't have any, and he doesn't like dolls either. That animosity kind of goes a long way in how that goes as well. A little bit. But yeah, because we see, this is where we're introduced to something's up with dolls. He's taking something that gives him lizardy eyes, supplied by his superiors at Black Badge.
Yeah, some BBD contact dropped that quote, air quote, lunch off to him.
Yeah, so we see his eyes go all lizardy, and we don't know what's up with that.
You know what I think is cool is, like, we don't understand that serum. It has, there's some sort of like reptilian reaction to it. And I thought it was cool from like what we see of the blacksmith. She's this sort of, like metaphysical, character that's introduced. And so she doesn't talk about the short-temperedness or the sweaty palms or the shakes. She doesn't talk about like withdrawal. She's talking about like a spiritual battle that he's fighting, which I think just further raises the question of like what exactly is in this serum. Like, is it reptilian? Is it demonic? Like, she's talking about a battle for the soul. So I think that adds like a really interesting sort of like, it sort of raises the stakes, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I would have liked to have seen what would have happened if he accepted the solve.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. No, this is what, like I said, I like the blacksmith, and that, cause that's a great moment there with her. It's like,
it is.
Or with him, because it's just this, cause you're right. The soul is being torn. There's a battle deep inside, and it's interesting. There's definitely there's a lot of layers introduced here as far as like what is up here.
Yeah.
So, because Dolls gets a little pissy with Wynonna. He tells him that they need a revenant alive, and freaks out when Wynonna kills him. And it's like, it's interesting because yes, Wynonna is a Black Badge agent, but she's first and foremost a woman who lost her father to a group of people that she is seeking revenge. And so it's like the idea that he would even like try to push for that too. It's like, really, what she's like, that she's not here to be Black Badge. She's here as an Earp. Like, she's gonna avenge her family, like she was been talking about. So yeah, he's not a fan of that one bit.
I like that they spent this time on dolls too. I like that this, like Shamir, I feel like really, had an opportunity to shine in this episode, and he was walking like a very tense line, and I'm sure it was hard to sort of maintain that level of intensity. He kind of had to put his whole body through it, and I was just really excited about that, and to get to see a little more like physical acting from him that isn't about like, it's not about like stunt work or anything like that. He's tremendously talented.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a really good point, because it's good for what they're doing with him. It is a pretty good Dolls episode.
It is,
from that regards, because we don't know a lot about him. We don't get to see a lot apart from the government agent part of him. So
yeah.
And just more on that line with Dolls, I like that when Mama Olive bites him, she tells him that there's something wrong with him, that he's spoiled.
I did too. I really liked that.
And it reminded, here's your Buffy reference.
Yes.
Because it reminds me of that season 2 episode, Go Fish. I don't know why I was blanking on the episode.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
okay, wait. Yeah.
When the swim team that's been, like in a sauna with like absorbing steroids in the sauna, and Angel bites one of them and spits it out because there's something wrong. So I totally had like a Buffy moment there.
I'm gonna totally agree with you, and I'm gonna give you a different Buffy moment because I went double meat palace with this. Yes. So to take whichever Buffy, whatever you want to do. I thought season 6, Double Meat Palace, the lady with the very conspicuous thing coming out of her head, like eating the employees because their diet was actually richer in like soy and vegetables. But yeah, so I went that way with it.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah,
yours is too. I didn't even think about the Go Fish one. Nice.
Wig Lady.
Yeah, Wig Lady, exactly.
Which is better than some of the nicknames they could have given it.
Yes.
Yeah, that was, I think one of my favorite lines is a few episodes later when Willow's like, if I wasn't gay before.
She speaks for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so watch Buffy, folks. That's your weekly Buffy reference.
Reminder,
Yeah. We're plowing through my list.
Mine too. Can I change tracks like just a little bit? Yeah, please. I wanted to talk about, I think this is a phenomenal episode for so many characters. Like I said, Wynonna gets, she's just on top of her like one-liner game. We get so much important information and just screen time for dolls.
Uh-huh.
I cherish the chemistry. I cherish the scenes between Doc and Bobo. We talk a lot about the Earp sisters, and for very good reason. Mm-hmm. But Michael and Tim also, they have this phenomenal chemistry. Oh, yeah. And at this point in the show, like, we don't know the whole story on either of these dudes, but the way the actors play them, you can really tell that there's a history there. And sometimes they come off as, like bitter enemies pursuing a shared goal. Yeah. But other times you wonder if they almost qualify as like violent frenemies.
I like
that. What I mean? Yeah. And I really got a sense of that at the start of this episode when Doc confronts Bobo at the dig site.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't end up putting that in my notes a lot, but I might have been one of those times where I was just kind of like watching and enjoying it and forgetting to type up notes. I think I did that a couple of times in this episode. Because you're right, the scenes with Doc and Bobo are great. They always are, and
they are.
I do like how it's like, yeah, they both are kind of after different things from the same person, and it's like trying to get, their ducks in a row and everything for what they need. And yeah, that scene with them it's good. It always, they do have great scenes. I mean, really any scene with Bobo, because Michael is just plays it up so well and just, does such a great job. I just enjoy every time we have Bobo.
I do too. And we got to see like a little more of his like ability to move objects because he turned on that revenant who was at and it looked as though he was making him drill a hole in his own face, which is horrifying. I loved it. But but I also liked that scene because, after Doc walks away, we don't get much of Bobo. So I feel like we got a really important like little nugget right here because Bobo's standing there at the dig site and he's like, like, where are all my workers kind of a thing. Right. And the guy who will soon have a hole in his face is like, oh, like this is all that showed up sort of a thing. And it's cool because we see that we know that he rules through fear and intimidation. So it's not really a stretch or a surprise, like the, measure that he takes to sort of reinvigorate his men. Right. But also, by showing him like that, Doc is basically telling him, I'm not going to work with you. I'm going to work with them. And then, his workers aren't showing up to the dig site. Yeah. So we can also, see the hold he's losing on everybody around him.
Yeah, because he targets that particular guy. I think it calls him Torque or something. Because he laughs when Bobo and Doc are talking and like Doc says something either insulting or some snippy comment or something like that. That worker laughs. And it's like, you see,
I missed that.
There's a really good moment where it's like, and this is one of those moments that Michael did well, is where, that Revenant laughs and like he has a reaction to it because it is like he's losing his control. a little bit. Like he's lost some of his respect or something has happened where he doesn't have that big control. Like, you know, maybe things are taking too long or whatever. But yeah, go back and watch it because he laughs. That's what it was. That's why he targets that revenant.
Yeah, that's cool. I missed that. That's awesome.
But it goes again to like back up what you were saying as far as like he uses it to maintain control and to reestablish that fear with
reassert himself.
Yes, thank you. Better at words than I am sometimes. I'm like, I know there's a word there for what I'm trying to talk about, but it's not coming to me.
You're better at plot.
Whee! Sometimes. Yeah, no, those scenes are, I think, very often underappreciated.
I do too.
So, yeah, and I mean, we see when Doc goes to explore, you know, what Bobo's doing a little bit. Of course, like, Doc had no way of bringing that information back to Dulce other than saying, this is what I found. Because it's not like he has a cell phone that he can take a picture with. Right. You know, he couldn't just pick up the bones and walk away. So, you know, he does what he can to try to get that information, to try to get, you know, Doll's help with finding Clooney.
Yeah.
But sadly does not get what he needs. Yeah, Doc had kind of a rough episode.
He did, yeah.
He gets turned down by Wynonna. I mean, he had a wonderful time.
He did. He was very happy.
Yeah. I mean, so was Wynonna. Wynonna had a good time, too. She mentions that, you know, out of body, back into body experience.
Yeah.
Doc had a good time, but she turns him down and is like, hey, we'll be friends. I need a friend. So, you know, he has a rough episode a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, loses the tenuous thing he had with Bobo. So we're not sure how that's going to go.
Yeah.
He loses out on another roll in the dirt with Wynonna. Look, I'm still really bothered by the dirt.
I know you are.
It still really bothers me. It's just not okay. Amusingly enough, I didn't actually have a lot more notes.
Actually, I was going to tell you, I basically just got quotes.
Yeah, I've got my spoiler section and
right.
And I mean, other than we touched on it a minute ago, like a bit ago, but like the blacksmith, not only did she bond Waverly to that skull, but she found out it was the Stone Witch's son, which she didn't find out when she bound it to Curtis, and she loses her crap. She freaks out and is like, I gotta go get some salt. Yeah, that was the only other thing on my list. And sadly, we did not get any Nicole this episode, so.
We were lacking.
Always. But yeah, that was a pretty quick discussion. I think I've been talking quickly during these things more often, like the past couple of weeks, because I feel like we blew through that fairly quickly. But yeah, it wasn't a lot of like hardcore discussing. Anyway, so quotes. Yay, we quotes. This is like possibly my shortest quote list.
I think, well, I mean, yeah, mine isn't. We already talked about the wait, did I just marry a skull? And we talked about how can someone so pretty be so smart when we were talking about Champ and Waverly's, because those things aren't mutually exclusive. So those two were on my list and they both came up. And
I've also got she took the door, because that just makes me laugh every time.
I really like when she's standing on the landmine and the blacksmith like opens up the door or whatever, and she's standing there with a poker, and Wynonna is like, I've always been branded a bad girl, just never imagined it would happen for real.
Yeah, that's a good one. I did have one more thing about Hetty in the door though. Like, she was still attached to it when like Wynonna shot her. So did she take the door to hell with her? Because that would be inconvenient.
Yeah, that's a really big carry-on.
Yeah, just a random note. I kind of like Waverly asking Wynonna when she found out that Wynonna had like an amazing, she like the amazing sexual experience. I said, "Whose truck are you borrowing?" It's like, please, I can get from here to there on my own horsepower.
I have that line also, and please, I can get from here to there on my own horsepower. Both masterful lines.
Yeah, they're great. I already mentioned the great Gaia, it's not live. What do you think I am?
Yeah. I liked Hetty's take mama, she's a cold, hard harpy. And Wynonna was like, I thought I had a bad childhood.
Yeah. Oh, I've got beef with you, Tate, and it's not just delivering meat puns.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
So great. I love a good pun. So it made me happy. And Wynonna asking the blacksmith if she's got a salve that'll cure crotchety curmudgeonitis because he's got a raging case.
Yep.
I mean, I had a shorter list, but there was still a decent amount on there. So, And also Waverly has that kind of line, like telling Wynonna that someday people will see through the noise and see what a beautiful soul she is.
Yeah, that was a sweet moment.
Yeah, I like that because it was kind of mixed in with this, let's talk about sex and how terrible Champ is, and then let's talk about who murdered our father, and, it's kind of sandwiched in there, and it's very easy to miss, I think, if you're not quite paying attention, I think. But yeah, no, it's a nice moment. I love Waverly.
Me too.
She's so wonderful. She's such an angel. Oh, and the doll's telling Wynonna to find his weakness. Ice cream? Clippers? Thongs?
Yeah.
So I think that was everything on my list. Maybe. Did you have any other ones?
No, the rest of mine is for the spoiler section.
Yeah, I have some spoiler stuff. So we might have a lengthy spoiler section, folks. Just because of Clexicon. I'm not mad about it, though. Alrighty, so guess we're gonna wrap it up and give our outros and stuff. Lara, where can they find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter at RS Mayfair.
Alrighty, and you can find me on Twitter at CMeushaw, that's at CMEUSHAW. You can find 4YE at 4_Y_E. You can find the podcast Twitter at 4YE_MYP podcast, and both of those, it's the number 4. And I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but I forget what it was. Oh well. So thank you guys for listening, and to everybody who is new and doesn't want to be spoiled, this is where you got to turn it off. To everybody who is okay with spoilers because you've seen season 1 and 2, or because you just don't mind them, then stay on with us for just a few more minutes. Or in just a minute or so, we'll get really into it. So thanks, guys, for listening.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks to everyone who stuck around, and one last warning, this is a spoiler section, so we will be talking about season 1, the rest of season 1, season 2, and anything that might have come out for season 3, like casting news or any teases from cons. So, this is your final warning. If you don't turn it off and you get spoiled, that's not on us.
It's on you.
Yes. So, where do you want to start with some of our spoilers?
Let's start kind of towards the top. We talked earlier about Bobo and the dig site and all that stuff. So this is another instance where he's got the drill and he's putting it through that revenant's face. So it's one more early shot of his ability to control metal, and another example of how it's just so easy to. I really thought it was blanket telekinesis, well up into season 2 until it's dealt with. It does really look that way. Cause even the way they shot it, the Rev had his hand on the drill, and it was kind of ingenious to do it that way, because I realized, with the benefit of hindsight, that he's probably holding onto the drill so that he can fight it away from his face. But it makes Bobo look like a sort of Darth Vader type, controlling that Rev's entire body and the item in question.
Yeah, it's good. And, I didn't have that on my list. So, like I said, I didn't take a lot of notes during that moment for whatever reason. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it was shot really nicely, knowing what we know later, that it's the metal, not just the general telekinesis. Yeah. So it is. And I mean, I guess you can. Yeah, I mean, it was well done, and it's such a disturbing moment anyway.
It is.
With the drill in the cheek. Ugh. So, yeah, it's a good moment though, and it was filmed kind of nicely. So, I like when Wynonna is trying to figure out the timeline for Mama, trying to figure out the connection. And she does, she's like, she's got it. She's like, well, this is when Edwin was, this is when, Daddy was alive. This is, Daddy was the heir. And then she goes, but this was a year before I started, basically. Yeah. Like this isn't right. So I do like that was kind of a very subtle, kind of almost throwaway that Willa is still alive.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
And that is, like, we have had those before. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't our first one. So I do like that. That it's like a kind of, you might miss it if you're not really thinking about it.
This episode sort of, I think, because we get the first real shot of dolls and, the reptile eyes and like all that stuff. So this is just sort of an aside. It's, just me sort of venting. But yeah. I really, really want more details on that serum and just like what dolls. I want to understand more, like, the limitations of his power and. How did BBD like stumble upon that? Like I almost, well, I mean, I do want BBD back for reasons. And one of those reasons is because I want more details on dolls. I want more information on the serum, and I want to know what the hell happened with that blood contract.
Yeah. And, interesting, you mentioned the return of BBD. And I know you were going to kind of knock out some of the episode-specific spoilers before we got into the con stuff, but it's relevant because at the Clexicon panel, the Wynonna Earp panel at Clexicon, which happened on April 6th, it is mentioned that Black Badge does return in a very unexpected way.
And I watched that twice, and I still forgot, so thank you.
You're welcome. So we do have that to look forward to. Black Badge will return. And I'm looking forward to that because we do have a lot of things that are still not answered about that blood contract. Mm-hmm. And even I think that was answered in a question about the blood contract, if I remember correctly. And you know me, and you know how anal retentive I am, and I am looking at this right now.
I know you are.
To see. Yep. Because I feel like somebody said something like, well, the blood contract is kind of a non-issue, and Emily was like, is it?
I'm almost positive I don't have the best memory, but I think that is a thing that happened.
Yep, it is. Somebody mentioned the audience question was like, I thought the storyline with BBD ended very quickly and like the blood contract is null and void. And Emily said, what makes you think it's the null and void? So they do come back in a very unexpected way. That's very personal. Mm-hmm. That's what we get about. Yes, I transcribed both panels pretty much while I was doing my write-ups, so.
You? Really?
Yeah.
I know that's your method.
I'm an insane person, so.
Your words, not mine. I said method.
Yeah, no, I know. It's okay. It's okay. But back to the episode specifics before I go down the Clexicon rabbit hole that I am prone to do. Another thing we see, which I thought is interesting with how we know what happens with Bethany. And we didn't talk about it because I popped it in my spoiler section. But we see Bethany gets attacked by a man driving a truck. And she's pulled into this truck, and then we see like a blood splatter.
Yeah. Which
is interesting, knowing that, she pops up in episode 8 as a victim of Jack the Ripper character. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting how, that was kind of, you're very thrown off by that once she was taken, there's a bunch of blood, but then we see her and it's like, okay, where did all that blood come from? Right. So.
Sort of similar. Well, I guess just in terms of like, what are we supposed to make of it? Okay, I've got a couple questions for you. Did we ever find out, number one, did we ever find out how Curtis got hold of the Stone Witch's son's skull? I'm just curious.
No.
Okay. And we talked about this a little bit before, was Maddie's spell to make Waverly Keeper of the Bones only good for this one skull? Like there's no larger impact.
We don't see one.
Right. Okay. That's a little, it's a little frustrating for me when things like that happen. Like when there's I don't know how to put this. I just, when there's like this entire episode, Waverly was on this scavenger hunt, and we get the blacksmith, and then she goes, like through this spell, and then she freaks out over it, and there's just this like big reaction, and then it kind of all gets dealt with in the next episode. And so I was just like, in my mind, like when this moment happened, I made it like, I was like, oh, Keeper of the Bones. Like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, and I was like, and then I was racking my own brain. Like, when did that come up again in season 2? Like, what were the implications of that? Whatever. And I don't think there are any.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it seemed to really just apply to the skull, and then the stuff with Clutie's sons was wrapped up fairly quickly.
There's such crazy language in it, like she's like, did I just marry this skull? Mm-hmm. And Maddie is like, you're joined with this creature now, like, or you're joined with these bones and the skull and like all of this stuff. And so I guess I wanted to see a little more to it, like for Waverly.
Yeah.
I wanted it to have more of an effect or an impact, because I feel like we did spend quite a bit of time on this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird thing that it was like, oh, so this is literally just to cause conflict in the next episode.
Right, and then we're done. So that was, a little. So, but I mean, who knows? That we could have something pop up in season 3 about this, and I think that would be really fun.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Not really. Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, I feel like there's also a lot more stuff to really deal with in upcoming seasons that we could just, might just lose it.
Yeah. So. And I just one more quick note, my last one, and then, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can just run with it. I love Maddie. I said it earlier. Yeah. I do though. I wish we could have her back. Not her evil twin, but the real deal. I've spent in a lot of my notes, I wasn't calling her that or anything, but because we really don't have a lot of details on her yet, but I kept calling her the Good Witch of the Smelt in my in my notes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I just thank you, little welding for metalworking. But yeah, I really like her, and I think she was just such an interesting character. And if there's it's sci-fi, it's science fiction. So let's and fantasy. So let's just find a way to bring her back. Cause I think she's just talented, and I think the character's a lot of fun.
Yeah. She is. I do. It is a shame that we and we'll talk about this in probably our spoiler free next week, but it is a shame where that went.
Yeah.
For Maddie.
It is.
So yeah, the only other, I had the fun spoiler, Waverly singing, and thankfully they brought that back in season 2.
Yes.
Which I believe was the first episode that we recorded a podcast for. I believe it was that episode.
I think you're right about that.
So, it holds a special place in my heart.
And mine.
And then my last bit, Waverly talks about how Curtis always supported her, paid for her classes, and it drove Gus nuts. So I had put it, I don't remember if this came up in our many, 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 many conversations about Waverly's parentage. Did we ever suggest that maybe she was Curtis's kid?
No, I don't think so. It would make, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's like, okay, so then who's her mom? I like it, but we've got to give her some sort of magical mother, right? Because there's just so many things about her that people keep hinting. I would be a little disappointed if we get this answer and her parents are just two regular folks. Don't do that to Waverly, and don't do that to Rey in Star Wars.
I'm sensing some feelings here.
It's fine. It's fine. I got it under control.
Okay. Well, because it would be, he's not an Earp, and it would kind of explain away some of Curtis kind of taking Waverly under his wing in a way that he didn't Wynonna. So I just didn't know if we'd ever talked about that because the big emphasis was she's not an Earp. And even if it was Curtis and, Mama Earp, that would still be not an Earp.
Yeah.
So, and we don't know what's up with Mama.
Nope.
Could be something interesting with Mama. So that was my last spoiler bit for the actual episode. But now that means we can get into the Klexicon stuff.
Yay.
All right. So I'm going to resist the temptation to go over the both panels. So at Klexicon, there was a Way Hot panel and a Wynonna Earp panel. If you haven't already heard about those panels or read about those panels, please do yourself a favor and watch both of them. They're on the Klexicon YouTube, and they are a delight.
Yep. And I just want to say real quick before we move away from that, our buddy Dana Piccoli was the moderator for the Way Hot panel and for several other panels. And I told her great job on Twitter, but I just want to say one more time, I think she did a phenomenal job. And you guys, if you have not watched any of those panels yet, Dana's really going to blow you away.
Mm-hmm. And also shout out to Bridget for rocking the Wynonna Earp panel.
Yes.
So, but yeah, Dana, who has come on as a guest before, was on fire during Klexicon. She moderated 8 panels. So do yourself a favor and watch if you haven't watched, because a lot of those panels were very good.
Yeah, they were.
Especially not Wynonna Earp related, but if you are a Supergirl fan or were a Supergirl fan or an Alex Danvers fan or just a Kyler Lee fan, watch that panel and maybe have some tissues. All right. Because Klexicon was a damn delight. So, let's get into some of the information that we learned at Klexicon. First things first, last year we were gifted an air date for season 1 to be on Netflix. Unfortunately, we weren't given any air date information for anything for season 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Emily Andros did indicate that season 2 should be on Netflix soon. She wasn't able to give us a specific date, but did say it was sometime in the spring.
Yeah.
So just get ready for some binge watching and some recruiting more viewers. And we still don't have an air date for season 3. So I know once we do, I'll be retweeting it and we'll probably talk about it when we get to it. But I know sometimes we're a little bit behind based on when we record. All right. So what we have to look forward to. First things first. It'll be even gayer than season 2. From what Emily said, it'll make season 2 look like the straightest show you can think of.
I'm here for it.
And then, Dominique backed her up saying it's pretty gay. Which is kind of funny because as I typed that up, I was looking back at my con notes from last year, and it's actually very similar to what Emily and Dominique told us last year. Because Emily, it's gayer, and Dominique backed it up. So I thought that was funny, and I kind of enjoy that that's kind of a parent Klexicon thing for them.
It was also true, though. It was true last year when they said it, so there's no reason to think it won't be true this year.
We will also see more of Nicole, and so we'll get more of Nicole's backstory. And from what Kat Burrell said, it feels like Nicole's really in the Scooby Gang this year. So that's a nice sign, and we'll get to see more of her with Wynonna, more Nicole and Wynonna scenes. And we will get more Way Hot, and we'll get domestic Way Hot. We get to see more of a comfortable family vibe, and who doesn't love their OTP being all adorably domestic? So I'm really looking forward to getting more of Nicole's backstory.
Me too.
There's so much we don't know about her. And
I'm feeling
can't wait for her. Yeah.
No, just this wild speculation. But I am feeling like we might be in for sort of a Tara McClay kind of an episode. I feel like we might get, I feel like we're being set up to sort of get a not so awesome family, because she does not speak about her family. Her family is not an emergency contact or anything like that. We learned that in season 2. So I think in season 3, we might get an episode where, a not great family shows up, and you're kind of oh, that's why she has nothing to do with it.
So you think we're going to get familied? You think You think that's what's going to happen? I mean, that's possible. We do know that Emily is a Buffy fan.
Yeah, I do. That's how it feels to me. But I mean, that's just a couple context clues and me jumping to conclusions. That's all that is. But I do feel like that's what we're in store for, and I would love it. I really would.
That would be great. I would love that too. That's one of my. Here's more Buffy stuff, but that's one of my favorite Buffy episodes.
Oh, mine too. Yes,
especially with Tara episodes, because I adore Tara McClay with a fiery passion, and I do really like it. So I would like getting an episode like that. I just think sometimes stuff like that is really hard when you've only got like 13 episode season. So yeah, that would be cool. I'd like if they could squeeze that in and make it work.
I would too. Yeah. And I mean, we know we get more Nicole this season, so maybe something. Yeah. And if they're getting to a more domestic place, they've been together for a while, stuff like that. So they're going to have to do something with the family, especially when family and chosen family is such a huge theme in the show. It would just be.
Oh yeah.
I don't see them ignoring that. I see that as being something that they would make time for. But again, I'm speculating, everybody.
That's what we do, yo.
Yes.
Isn't that why y'all are here listening? Because you enjoy our speculation and our fun rants? If it's not, then don't tell us. Just let us.
Let us keep ranting, please.
Yeah. That would be interesting. Also, somebody asked if we could have a return of the Stetson. And
yes.
Dom and Kat said they hadn't shown up yet, but they still have like a couple more episodes to film. So they might try to squeeze it in.
That was one of my favorite, like, low-key jokes from the con. And I wasn't there, you guys. I was watching it along with all the other Calexicants. But I absolutely love that moment because there was just, like, Dom and Kat were just, like, so genuinely, like, what? Like, you want the stats? And, like, looking at each other and, like, that's what you want? Like, that's what you're asking us for? Yeah, well, maybe we can work it in. We've got a couple episodes. Like, I just thought it was such a sweet moment.
Well, because the best part of it wasn't just, will it be returned? It was, will we see Waverly in it? So if they manage to work that in the next 2 episodes, I am going to be a very happy human being. It'll be great. So I can't wait for that.
Yeah, me neither. I love fan service.
Yes, when it's like that.
When it's well intentioned. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When it doesn't affect the plot, like when it doesn't mess up the plot or characterizations, and it's just something in there for fun, I enjoy it.
And when it's a nod and not baiting, I really appreciate it.
Which might be a good lead-in for this announcement. So we've already talked about Zoe Palmer coming on to the show. We've already had Rachel Scarston. Mm-hmm. And Emily joked about taking everybody who has been on Lost Girl and putting them on Wynonna Earp, which I would absolutely love because Anna Silk. Yeah, Anna Silk is going to be guest starring as a character named Kevin. And she is named after Kevin Batchelder. Shout out to Kevin. Hey, Kevin. Who runs the Wynonna Earp Pod Twitter account, and he's one of the people who runs Tales of the Black Badge. He's one of the hosts of Tales of the Black Badge. So it was confirmed that Anna Silk is coming on as a character named after him. I am so excited for her to come onto the show.
I am too. I'm a huge Lost Girl fan, and so the fact that the alumni is just like getting pulled into it, I'm delighted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for Emmanuel to come in, too, because I think that would be a trip. Can you imagine that?
And if she does, like, I mean, I'm going to be happy to see her no matter what, but my God, she was amazing as the Morrigan. If they could, like, cross over and, like, bring her back, like, as the Morrigan, like, somehow the Morrigan now human, like, winds up in purgatory or just I don't know. I love her so much as that character, and that was the one thing, like, I really felt like I never got enough of the Morrigan on Lost Girls. So just even if we could just get Emmanuel in a role that's sort of like that, she's so snarky and so amazing. I would be over the moon.
Wildly unrelated to Wynonna Earp or Lost Girl, but related to Emmanuel, apparently she has an upcoming show titled Millennial Mafia coming up where she plays either a mob boss or the wife of. So just as a fun fact, she does have that coming up. I think it's some sort of streaming service original.
That's awesome. Thanks, dude.
So
yeah, thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so
no
let's all support Emmanuel.
So you're welcome, listeners, once again for another. This isn't Wynonna Earp related, but it's still semi-relevant
Yeah.
comment.
Still in fandom, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, but I'm looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to season 2 or season 3. We've seen season 2. Sorry, Catherine tired now. So let's see. Jeremy could be getting a boyfriend.
Yes.
Somebody asked Kat and Dom, and they don't have Doc Holliday level poker faces. So he's got an awesome storyline in season 3. He may or may not have a boyfriend. So I'm looking forward to that because I do like Jeremy and I think it's time, you know?
Yeah.
I think I'm looking forward to him having an awesome storyline. So I like him.
Yeah, I love Jeremy. He's great comic relief, but we sort of had that cliffhanger at the end of, season 2, and we know that he's, like a powered person also, so I want more of that, and I would love for him to actually have a real love interest. Not that I don't like the flirting with dolls and Doc. I think it's charming and I hope it never goes away. But I would like to see something reciprocal for him. I really would.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great. A couple more. Sorry, guys. Also, there's a lot more I'm not saying. So please make sure you watch those panels because there is a lot of discussions about season 2 that I haven't mentioned yet. That I'm not going to take the time to. But so watch the panels. You will not be sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So we could see a possible return of Rosita and Mercedes. Rosita seems a lot more likely because she didn't die in the finale. So she could 100% show up. And I would like that because I think there's more to her story. And I think it'd be interesting to really find out the truth for that because we just know what she said about her being caught in the crossfire. We don't know that she was actually like an innocent. So
true. And this show does deal a lot with like redemption.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to see Rosita, back in the good graces of the Scooby Gang. Like I think she's awesome and I want to keep her around. So I hope that they do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would certainly love to see her again. And as far as Waverly and her parentage, we get a surprising answer about her parentage. So hopefully it's not a disappointment. But we get a surprising answer. And we also, Waverly has a very emotional reaction to Mama Earp returning.
Yeah.
And that's a really big deal for Waverly.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like kind of the big things. The other thing, a couple other things I wanted to mention. A few people did talk about representation and asking about like there were conversations about having characters with disabilities, trans characters, non-binary characters, having First Nations rep.
Yes.
Andrus did mention that they have had First Nations rep on the show. If I remember correctly, the actress who plays Gus is First Nations, and we'll see more in season 3. She did say something about wanting to be respectful and wanting to make sure she's not casting, all of these people in roles that, like villains and stuff like that, since a lot of the characters they do introduce, like all the minority characters as villains, because a lot of the new characters are villains. Yeah. So she wants to make sure they're respectful and make sure they consult with members of the community she's representing. So that was what she had to say about representation. And since I know it's also a big fandom thing, I kind of want to mention this. During the panels, it was established that Nicole does identify as a lesbian, which we kind of already knew. And Provost Chalkley feels that Waverly would probably identify as bisexual if she had to be labeled, but would most likely not to want to label herself. Frankly, I would love to hear Waverly say the word bisexual because it doesn't get mentioned a lot in a positive way on TV or at all.
I am with you on that. I would like to hear her actually say the words because I do think that representation is important. But I also do agree a little bit with Dom in that I feel like Waverly, that labels wouldn't be overly, that maybe not something that Waverly is super comfortable with. So I get that. I believed it when she said it of her character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, or like she would be somebody who would be more likely to use an umbrella term like queer.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like it felt right for Waverly, but I also like I'm not taking sides on this, you guys. Please don't think, and I'm not claiming Waverly as anything. Like, I am a lesbian, and I'm not looping Waverly in to one category or the other. Yeah. I respect what she said about believing that her character may not be too eager to jump into one of those categories or assign herself to one. But you're right. We need positive representation for bisexuals. And I would love if we got that from Waverly.
Yeah, part of me wanted to mention it because I know it's been a conversation in the fandom with that season 2 episode where she says, I think I'm kind of gay, but there's also, or I think I'm gay, one of those things, but it's also that it's frequently also used as an umbrella term.
Yeah.
Like the gay community and stuff like that. Labels are complicated. Identity is multi-layered and fluidity is a thing. So with that being said, I just wanted to bring that up because there were, like I said, there's a lot more I could sit here and talk about, but I don't want to take up too much of anybody's time when you could watch a very good couple of panels. So I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there just for anybody who might be listening and might have maybe wanted that answer or been curious. So with that, I think I have talked way too much. But I wanted to get out some of the info from Quaxicon, and that way we can kind of start working it into some of our future spoiler discussions and just general discussions of the show.
Yeah.
With that, Lara, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
No, that's it for me, you guys. Again, thank you to everybody who has, reserved a copy of my book, and thank you to the people that are starting to reach out. I've gotten really nice messages from my good friend Naomi and from Breezy, and Liv has also been really wonderful and really encouraging. And thank you, my friend, for supporting me. That's all I've got.
Honestly, shameless plug here as we are taking a moment from our Wynonna Earp discussion, but honestly, Lara did write a book called Terrible Praise. You can find it on Bella Books or on Amazon. I would honestly go for Bella just because I like to use their site when I can.
Yeah, they could use your support.
If you like vampires and stuff and queer ladies, give it a read. I've got the copy next to me that I'm working through. So, shameless plug for a friend. But
thanks, dude.
And we plug our 4YE stuff every time, so why not give you the plug for the book? So thank you so much to everybody who's listening. Thank you to everybody who, shares our stuff and who gives us shout outs on Twitter. We do appreciate it. We see it. Sometimes we do see them a little late because we don't have the Make Your Peace Twitter up all the time, but we do see it. So keep them coming and please give us feedback. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much for listening, guys. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next week.
See you guys.
All right, bye.